late in the course of the program. But for now, let me just hear their voices. If they have, of course, prepared enough, we have breakfast, right? Professor Ogola, thank you for joining us. I know you've never woken up this early. Today, I actually, made sure that you had some blanket victory in the morning.
Yeah, actually, they say that if one of the biggest battles you have to win is to win that blanket battle.
Blanket battle in the morning.
Yeah, because some people in Kenya are competing with the dead. They sleep as long as the dead will sleep, so that is not a route for success.
So you have some blanket victory in the morning.
Yes, yeah.
I've had mine as well. I usually have mine every morning. So at least on that note, I can be a Usain Bolt, or is it Eliud Kipchoge, right?
Yes.
Gitela and I told you always also beats me to the punch as well, right? I normally find he's early.
Yeah, because I don't have the battle in the morning. I just wake up.
There's no battle.
No.
You just
and I find it very nice to wake up very easily.
Yes.
Because I sleep early. I sleep by 7:30.
By?
Yeah, by 7:30 I go
by
to bed.
7:30?
Yeah. And I sleep until morning.
Until morning? Now you're the one who really clocks the 8 hour that is recommended for health. Huh?
Yes.
I wish I could. And Kiprito Rapkiro as well is an early bird.
Yeah, I try, because in my old school we used to say Jishinde Ushinde.
Shinde Ushinde.
Jishinde Ushinde.
Jishinde Ushinde.
Yes.
Which school was that?
Mango.
Mango High
That's
School.
the only school that says that.
you know, self.
Jishinde
Jishinde
Ushinde.
Ushinde. This is self.
Tulenge juu.
Yeah, self-actualization.
Yes.
You defeat your ego,
Yes.
then you actually win.
You succeed,
Yeah, you
succeed in life.
Yeah, so you succeed by actually...
by perfecting yourself, not others.
Yeah.
They normally say the spirit is willing but the body is weak. So you defeat the body first.
Yeah.
You win that battle over the body. Yes, that's how it is this morning. But it has been pronounced by the meteorological department that is going to be heavy going as far as rainfall is concerned. So, and also it's going to be numbingly cold. But let's see how the weather will be today. That's the weather for you, but the dailies are here as well. Oh heavens! Why Ruto is on the spot? Why Ruto is on the spot? That is what is a splash on the front page of the Standard today. Why Ruto is on the spot. It is all about Mumias. Case filed in court, Magistrate Court, Republic versus Victoria Commercial Bank. Also, we have High Court, Kakamega County, I should say, versus Ramana Rao, KCB, Mumias, Sarai Group, DCI, DPP, AG, and West Sugar. Commercial Court. Insolvency. We have Kimeto and Associate versus Mumias, West Kenya, Vatox, and others. Application by Victoria Bank stopping DCI probe. Application by Jaswant Rai Block DCI probe. Court of Appeal. Sarbijit Singh Rai and KCB challenged the cancellation of lease and kicking out Ramana Rao as receiver manager. Out of order, or it's a probing question, out of order? Whereas the president has come out firmly to declare a fierce war on corruption, he's walking a tightrope after his proclamation on how to slay the stubborn dragon appeared to border on extrajudicial methods, triggering furious protest from Kenyans. And here this story well laid out for you on page 4 and 5 of the Standard today. Oh heavens, why Ruto is on the spot. You can read all this inside the Standard today. Also revealed all you need to know on teachers' pay rise. And the scales are given here, the groups as well, and the categories, and also the salary raises as well. You can read all about this, and it continues apace on page 6 of the Standard today. WorldCoin probe, how state agencies slept on the job. That's a story that you want to read on page 10 of the Standard today. We had also the Communications Authority Director General saying they had no sodding idea about WorldCoin. They learned this from the media, and it goes to show that it really came from the left for many of the state agencies as far as this is concerned. Now, you know about the Shakahola horror? The church has come up with a code of conduct, and that was unveiled on Wednesday. You'll want to get acquainted with that, the code of conduct, on how also they can self-regulate. This story is on page 3 of the Standard this morning. I shall show you a copy of that code of conduct as well. And this is in light of what is going on. Remember, also we have a task force that is investigating or interrogating what really happened as far as cultism is concerned in the country, occult as well. And all that is stacked on page 3 of the Standard this morning. New push for better maize prices is on, and you can read all about it on the county pages 22 of the Standard today. And Junta names new Gabon leader. That is a transitional leader there since Gabon is in a coup right now. And the story is on page 26 of the Standard. FKF unveils broadcast partner. You can find out who that is on page 35 of the Standard today. This is how it looks. Make sure you grab a copy. Also remember, you have the Polls magazine that comes in handy for you every Friday. The real OGs. That is what is the headlining story inside the Standard. The Daily Nation, back down. That is a splash. Besieged, farms had challenged 20-year lease awarded to Uganda's Sarai Group. High Tycoon lost vicious sugar battle cornered. That is what the sub-headline is reading. Days after President William Ruto issued a warning to farms and individuals that had sued Mumias Sugar to either withdraw the cases or face the consequences, billionaire businessman Jaswant Rai yesterday followed in the footsteps of Dubai-based Vatox Resources Inc., dropping all applications that were pending against the miller at the Court of Appeal. Just what happened? That is the abiding question, and all the answers could be on page 6, 7, and 8 of the Standard this morning. And on the side, but there we have ex-CS Masharia's siblings fighting for father's property. Just to read an excerpt there, it says James Masharia, one of the most powerful cabinet secretaries in the administration of former President Uhuru Kenyatta, is at the center of a vicious inheritance dispute over multi-million shilling property left behind by his father. The death of the patriarch Julius Masharia Dugire on June 9, 2017 without a will triggered the succession court battle that has split the 7-member family. At the center of the dispute are bank accounts with an unknown amount of cash. 4 plots in Murang'a, 3 in Nairobi's Dandora, 1 in Eastleigh's section 7 there, and 1 in Laikipia. And this story is tucked away on page 10 of the Daily Nation this morning. This is how it looks. Also looking on top there on the teaser, Ruto's secret card against Raila's camp. His coalition has the numbers in the house. And that story is on page 8 of this Daily Nation. No more KCP, KCSE exams in hospitals. In hospital beds, those who fall sick to sit supplementary test. And this story continues on page 2 of the Daily Nation this morning. The Star is up next. Ruto hidden cards in talks with Raila is what is headlining the front page of the Star. Arsenal. Parliament to have final say on final dialogue report. Framework agreement says final talks report will be tabled in Parliament and MPs to have last say on contentious issues. You have this story on page 4 and 5 of the Star this morning. And also Mathe wa Ngara denied bail in drug trafficking case. And you can see a picture there. Nancy Endoveria Kigunzu, known as Madewangara, with lawyers Dunstan Omari, Cliff Umbeta, and Samia Berry, after she was charged with trafficking narcotic drugs valued at 18.3 million shillings at JKA courts on Wednesday. This story continues on page 9 of The Star this morning. On the sidebar, we learnt about WorldCoin through media. This is what Chiloba is disclosing here. And he was before the communications committee there. The Communications Authority of Kenya has denied any responsibility for the regulation of WorldCoin in the country. The authority said it learnt about its activities through the media. The CA Director General told the MPs that this is the mandate of the Office of the Data Commissioner and not his office. You can follow the story on page 7. And Kenya ill-prepared to handle elderly HIV/AIDS patients every day. After Davis Kana takes his ARV pill, he must take more pills to control blood sugar, high blood pressure, and arthritis. The 65-year-old grandfather is a well-known HIV patients advocate who was among the first to found a treatment lobby in Kenya, and you can follow the story on page 2 of The Star this morning. Make animal welfare part of climate talks. This is what animal welfare advocates are gagging for, and you can read the story on page 10 of The Star this morning. Remember, every Friday you have the Siasa Pull-Out magazine coming in handy for you inside The Star. Incompetence of Kenya Power poses national security threat. This is where it is training its focus this morning. And also sugar politics as well is hogging that particular Pull-Out magazine in The Star. People Daily, why high-profile graft cases fail. DPP nominee spills beans. Evidence is not always tight enough to convict the accused. And in some instances, investigators lie or not, or obtain information illegally. Candidate for prosecutor tells MPs as Aror Kimorer Dam trials put on hold even after former CS Munya is summoned to court. You can follow this story on page 2 of the People Daily this morning. And how Kenyans are coping with the high cost of living. Although cost of food has been declining, thanks to bumper harvest of maize, Kenyans are still feeling the pinch because fuel prices remain high, impacting prices of other goods. You have this story on page 4 and 5 of the People Daily this morning. And senators pass climate change bill ahead of crucial talks. Organizers of a first-of-a-kind meat launch up as indigenous people seek voice. Remember, the CS was really pushing for this bill to be passed, and it seems it has been given the thumbs up by the senators as well. You can follow the story on page 6 of the People Daily this morning. Hofu ya Gachagua. That is what we have on the front page of Taifa Leo this morning. Wadadisi wasema naibu rais apinga handisheki akihofia kutengwa. Right? What befell the former deputy president is now the fear and trepidation of the current deputy president as well, with the handshake or with the bipartisan talks. And you can read all about it inside Taifa Leo this morning. Habari kamili ikiwa ukurasa wa pili. Daktari, why are you laughing? Jishinde ushinde. Umesikia kamili ilikuwa inakuja. Thank you for joining us. Let's see what is on the front page of the Business Daily. Ruto plans compulsory 2.75% NHIF deductions. New deductions push payslip taxes above 20%. NHIF membership mandatory for public services. And it says President William Ruto's plan to make it mandatory for every household in Kenya to contribute 2.75% of its income to fund a new social healthcare fund will see the government take at least 20% of the monthly pay from Kenyans earning 50,000 shillings and above in the latest onslaught on payslips. The Business Daily has learned that the Social Health Insurance Bill 2023 will also make it mandatory for all Kenyans to be members of a new social insurance scheme, which will replace the current National Health Insurance Fund, NHIF, to enjoy government services. So this is the latest. This is the latest on the front page of the Business Daily. What does it really portend? Is it an additional on what we are going to deduct? We shall decipher this with our panelists as well. And Kenya's African payment platform bid under review. Fahari buyout leaves real estate to the rich. And Airtel Uganda sweetens IPO with free shares offer. KRA hits used car imports with more taxes again. The Kenya Revenue Authority has hit used cars imports with a fresh round of taxes or tax increment after capping the maximum depreciation rate at 65% of the value of the vehicle from 70% previously. You can follow this story on page 2 of the Business Daily this morning. If you may cross over to Tanzania right now, we have the Citizen that it comes in handy for us also every Friday. The tasks ahead of new Foreign Affairs Minister. And this is Mr. January Makamba, I should say, who's taking over at the Foreign Affairs Ministry, which is facing numerous challenges. And you can read the rest of the details on page 2 of The Citizen in Tanzania. PSSSF, that is, the government has cleared a chunk of its debt, it says, and CRDB's 780 billion shillings green bond up for grabs for investors. This is a story you want to follow inside The Citizen this morning. Martini opens up about flights to South Africa. And you can read all about that inside The Citizen in Uganda. Government is defending Bibanja owners in land sales. That is a splash this morning on the front page of the Daily Monitor if you're waking up in Uganda. And Justice Kisakie draws early curtain on career. You can look inside this Daily Monitor to get all the details why she has done this. And also, we have the scoop coming in handy for you every Friday inside the Daily Monitor if you're waking up in Uganda. In Rwanda, we have the New Times. And Rwanda revises electrification plan to increase solar home systems. Rwanda has a target of connecting all households by 2024. This story continues on page 2 of the New Times. And we can see also Rwanda, UK announcing 90 billion Rwandan francs partnership for girls' education. Here is Minister of Foreign Affairs, Dr. Vincent Biruta, meeting Andrew Michel, the UK's Minister of State for Development and Africa, on day 1 of his 3-day visit to Rwanda on Thursday. And the two officials discussed a multi-million-dollar program aimed at helping marginalized girls to return or stay in school. UK Minister Michel unveils first digital library also in Rwanda is another story. And businesses brace for new nighttime regulations. All that tucked away inside the New Times. The East African, this week it has been holding this splash EAC catchment plan. And this is a plan that the net should go on the entire Horn of Africa, even as Somalia prepares to join the East African community. And an Energy Secretariat talks of more members. A bigger bloc comes with more challenges. And this story continues on page 5 of the East African this week. They've been celebrating Malkia as well. You can see the Kenya national women's volleyball team, Malkia striker, celebrating a point during the African Nations Championship final match against Egypt in Yaoundé, Cameroon. All that also is inside the East African as well. This is how it looks. Today's editorial cartoon, we have Gams, who has done us proud as well by drawing this bipartisan talks, which is being shown as stakeholders, which is Wanjiku, and the stakeholders, right? Who is the stakeholder and the stakeholders? You know, the shareholders and of course the narrative of the shareholders and now we have a stakeholder as well.
Yes.
And this is all about bipartisan talks. We shall give you a snippet of that, what really happened during the week as well. This is what Gams has drawn in today's Standard. All right, friends, make noise, make noise, make noise. Mambo ni matatu. Friends, make noise. This is what Ozone has drawn inside the Star today. And it's all about Ali Bongo, who came out really crying out for the global community to save him. Make noise, make noise. And I wonder if also panelists have been making noise about what is happening in Gabon. We have a transitional leader right now that has been, of course, put up as a transitional leader in Gabon. But the rise of African coups, especially the Francophone-speaking nations, is what also Stano has actually picked up. Military coups in West Africa. This is the apple. How the apple of democracy in West Africa. This is what is really happening currently right now. And this is what Stano has captured today. I shall be showing you what we have on the front page of The Economist, also the Newsweek as well, as we continue with our panelists who are here already here to chime in on a lot of issues that is heading our dailies this morning. Make sure you grab a copy of the dailies as well. But days after President William Ruto pledged to bring down alleged cartels in the sugar industry, the privatization of Mumia's Sugar Company appears to be back on track. This is after key cases against the sugar farm were withdrawn. The latest to withdraw a case against Mumia's Sugar's private takeover is Tycoon Jaswant Rai, a day after Dubai-based farm withdrew its case. KTN's Odi Francis starts us off.
President William Ruto's visit to Western Kenya has elicited reactions in the sugar industry, especially about how he wants to streamline the sector. The president was categorical and specific about his fight against alleged cartels.
Hakuna kesi tuta-entertain hapo. Kesi watoe na wao wenyewe watoke. Nyenye mnanielewa? Tunaelewana? Na nimewaambia mambo ni mangapi? Matatu. Wakitaka kuniletea kisirani, either wahame Kenya, ama nitawaweka jela, ama wasafiri waende mbinguni.
His remarks may have rubbed various organizations, among them Law Society of Kenya, Amnesty International and the opposition. The president, while on a visit to Western Kenya, assured farmers that the sector would improve. The privatization of Mumias was part of the agenda. Less than a week later, according to court documents presented by lawyers representing the West Kenya factory, which Jaswant Rai owns, have resolved to withdraw the case blocking Mumia's factory takeover. West Kenya Sugar Company chairman Jaswant Rai had blocked his brother Sarbjit Sairai, Rakesh Kumar and Stephen Kihumba from managing Mumia's Sugar on a 20-year lease. This billionaire's legal team wrote to both Court of Appeal and Commercial Court at Milimani, indicating that the billionaire has withdrawn his claim in the case. Rai has also withdrawn a case he had filed against the Directorate of Criminal Investigations, the Attorney General, the Inspector General of Police, and the Immigration Department following his arrest by detectives at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport in July. This comes barely a week after Rai was reportedly abducted and released by unidentified individuals. On Wednesday, Dubai-based firm Vatox Resources Inc. also withdrew a case blocking the lease of Mumia's Sugar to Uganda-based Sarai Group. Mumia's Sugar Company has been a battlefield between the two Rai brothers. Jaswant Sairai, chairman of the Rai Group, had joined others in bidding in an attempted rental of the factory from his younger brother, Sarbi Sairai. Ode Francis, KTN News, Nairobi.
And Interior Cabinet Secretary Kithure Kindiki made an impromptu visit to the Immigration Department at Nyayo House Thursday evening. Kindiki has vowed to ensure brokers who stand outside the Nyayo House to rob Kenyans looking for passports have been arrested. Kindiki has assured citizens that the government has already purchased a passport printing machine and now they expect to print more passports. This came as Immigration and Citizen Services PS Julius Bitok told the National Assembly Committee on Delegated Legislation that passport processing backlog has been reduced from 100,000 to 45,000. The PS assured that the backlog will be cleared in the next 2 weeks.
Journalist, yeah. Have a good day, you.
So I'm glad to report that we have achieved that last month after many months of negotiations between us and the National Treasury. And right now, from this month, we have been able to get approximately 1.3 billion shillings approved as appropriations in aid for the immigration department. And that money is enough to buy all what we require to print enough passports, process them in good time, and even improve the physical infrastructure so that our people can be. The people who we are informed have been soliciting for bribes, claiming that they are taking that money to their contacts in this building. We are going to crack down on them. That crackdown is continuous, and expect more arrests. It is not the intention of government to defraud any Kenyan, or for a Kenyan who has paid for a bigger booklet but received a smaller booklet. Certainly, we owe them a refund. There are no two ways about it.
Now, the Director of Public Prosecutions nominee, Renson Igonga, was taken to task by the National Assembly Justice and Legal Affairs Committee to explain how he will cushion his office against the political interference after some cases that hold huge public interest were terminated by his predecessor, Noordin Haji. Igonga says he will follow the law in dealing with such matters while defending the withdrawal of High Court on high-profile cases, I should say, by his predecessor. KTN's political affairs reporter, Daniel Kariuki, has more.
Among prosecutors across borders.
After his nomination as the next Director of Public Prosecutions, DPP, nominee Renson Igonga faced the National Assembly Justice and Legal Affairs Committee for vetting.
Our approach will focus on both external and internal stakeholders.
As expected, his predecessor's decision to withdraw high-profile cases took center stage. Igonga pressed to explain why some of the cases were withdrawn.
And we have seen in some of those cases where we were saying high profile, where cases were withdrawn, some of the investigators on oath saw that the evidence that they had given to us was illegally obtained.
The nominee explained to Parliament that the office withdraws around 10,000 cases across the country annually, and to focus only on the few high-profile cases would be unfair to the office.
Each of withdrawal cases is anchored in law. But again, withdrawal of cases, there are factors that lead to withdrawal of a case. And before that is done, the DPP makes presentations or applications to the court when a matter is to be withdrawn.
The committee sought to know how Igonga would handle the remaining high-profile cases and cushion his office against political interference.
What are you going to do to cushion your office from that political interference, instigation, and whatever else is likely to be, so that we politicians, including myself, do not use your office to settle scores?
The issue of political interference, I don't think that will happen in my tenure, because I am guided by the Constitution and the rule of law when handling any matter for any citizen.
Meanwhile, the nominee has called for more funding to the DPP's office.
We are not able to meet our needs because of funding. We are not able to employ staff. We are not able to do the other corporate services. We cannot. We can't even buy a camera for the communication department.
Igonga has served the prosecution's directorate for 9 years. During the vetting exercise, the nominee said he was worth 300 million shillings attached to his house and land. The committee will deliberate on the suitability of Igonga and later present a report to the House. If approved, Igonga will formally take over the position formerly held by Noordin Haji, who was appointed by President Ruto as National Intelligence Service Director General. Daniel Kariuki, KTN News, Nairobi.
Let's turn the clock now to Motor's Health, where the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission has begun a system review of the National Hospital Insurance Fund. The 45-day exercise will see the Commission examine the works systems, policies, procedures, and practices of the NHIF. The move comes 2 days after the Cabinet approved 3 bills seeking to repeal the NHIF and replace it with 3 health provisions funds.
The EACC has carried out systems reviews in other units in the health sector, among them the Kenyatta National Hospital, the Kenya Medical Professional and Dentists Council, the pricing of pharmaceutical and non-pharmaceutical products, and the universal health coverage. The Commission is taking the next round of reviews to the NHIF.
For the fund, we know it is a critical agency in ensuring that Kenyans are able to access healthcare. So the work that we'll do here will support the fund to strengthen its systems of accountability and transparency and governance generally.
Do we have gaps? Are there areas where we have gaps that would help us prevent corruption and develop more policies, improve on the policies that we have? Are systems robust enough to prevent corruption? So that's why they are here.
The NHIF has been ailing for a while from the alleged 1.5 billion shilling scam involving the procurement of a revenue management system in 2018, the row over the reimbursement of funds between the fund and private hospitals, to claims of illegal payments to hospitals.
Prevention is better than cure. If we are able to identify where the challenges are, if the institution is committed to reforming those systems, we have seen turnaround in service delivery, in performance, and even in corruption reduction.
There will be a report after the 45 days, and again after those 45 days, they are going to help us walk through, not just a report that is going to be given. We'll be involved with them in walking through to see that we carry out the implementation.
The NHIF was set to drive the universal healthcare policy, but the government is mooting for some changes. The cabinet has approved 3 bills that seek to repeal the NHIF and replace it with 3 funds: the Primary Healthcare Fund, Social Health Insurance Fund, and the Emergency and Critical Illness Fund.
The prevention system was not strong enough, and that now you see there is a Primary Healthcare Fund, Social Health Insurance, which is compulsory, and then the recognition that we have critical illnesses that are draining the resources from NHIF and from the fund. And therefore the government has decided that they are going to set up a critical illness fund that will not be eating into this social health fund.
The 3 bills are set to be presented before Parliament for approval. Rita Tinina, KTN News.
All right, those are the stories, of course, making headlines as of yesterday, and we shall be keeping our eyes peeled as well on the latest development on that. But we want to hack back into history beat and, of course, draw from our archives as well to just refresh your memory for them that can't remember, for them that can't learn as well. You can remember those faces. Museum is up next.
Demokrasia niliyosema mwaka wa 89 tarehe 24 ya kuwa demokrasia imeondokea katika dirisha, lakini siku ya leo tarehe 16 demokrasia ya Wanakenya imerudia katika mlango wa mbele. Kutoka leo kama mmoja wetu anawawa, sisi lazima zote milioni 23,999 lazima tuulize.
It was an historic day, for it marked the first time in nearly a quarter of a century that Kenyans could look forward to having a choice of who they would elect to govern them. It was a choice Kenyans desperately of joy at the prospect of seeing an end to a government that had gradually destroyed everything that was important for the welfare of this country. In the past 14 years, our country has gone only one way, downwards. We used to have healthy coffee and tea industries. They no longer exist. We used to have a healthy tourism industry. It no longer exists.
All right, so we used to have a healthy, robust coffee and tea industry. It no longer exists. And even coming down from the stream of time until now, we're still grappling with issues of coffee and tea, and of course the sugar sector as well. But just to set the tone for a conversation with the panelists who are already here as well, we've rounded up the soapbox of what the politicians, of course the policymakers as well, really said on the ground, and even the business community. Take a look.
Could the operations of WorldCoin in Kenya have been part of a bigger research that goes beyond the scanning of the iris and the exchange for cryptocurrency? Could Kenyans have been used as guinea pigs?
Kenya, they came in a very sly manner, of course, as a research institution and all that. Now they began to escalate in a very gradual and suspicious. In fact, this thing blew up when we saw the queues.
Kama wewe ni mwizi ya ng'ombe, mambo ni matatu. Uhame Kenya, uende jela, ama usafiri uende mbinguni. Hakuna maneno mengine. Wafisadi wote maneno yao ni tatu. Number 1, wahame Kenya. Number 2, waende jela. Number 3, wasafiri waende mbinguni. Hakuna maneno mengine. Mimi nimewaambia hao wakora wote, wezi wote, matapeli. Nimesema hawa watu mambo yao ni tatu. Si ndio? Either wahame Kenya, ama waende jela, ama waende mbinguni. Hakuna dawa ingine.
Those utterances associated with a person occupying the office that he occupies is actually a threat to national security.
It's unfortunate to hear from a head of state because that borders what we call the postic statements, basically dictatorial statements.
Wameniandika, wamejaza maneno kwa magazeti, sijui Law Society wamesema nini, sijui watu Azimio wamesema nini. Wacha nirudie ndio wasikie vizuri. Wale wanaiba pesa ya wananchi, wameangusha kampuni ya Mumias, wameenda wakaangusha kampuni ya Nzoia, wahame Kenya. Wahame ama wasihame?
Is Mr. President, lance this boil before you too get consumed by the lawlessness that you saw in your predecessor and in the previous administration.
Hatuna budi kuketi kwenye meza kuu ya uongozi wa taifa hili la Kenya. Hatuna budi.
Mulembe. Muri baramu. Muri mwoyo. Musangalile.
Tuna support the bottom-up economic transformation agenda kwa sababu inatilia mkazo sana mambo ya ugatuzi na pale mwananchi pale chini.
This is where we belong. This is where we belong. Don't feel uncomfortable around power.
The government is ours. The government is ours.
Naturally, we belong to this high table of national leadership.
Hata mimi ukiniona hapa mimi ndio mkubwa ya senators bwana huko Nairobi.
Ile kitu tu tumekosa is to put our politics in order. Kuweka siasa yetu pamoja.
Tukihesabu kaunti zetu, muhesabu pia Nairobi. Sijui kama tuko pamoja. Nairobi, first of all, kuna Waluya wengi hata kuliko Vihiga.
Let us have the unity of Western region. Mutakuwa na umoja. Mutaungana chini ya hao viongozi wenu wawili.
Are you with him? Are you with him? Are you with him?
Sasa mimi pia nataka kuambia nyinyi wananchi wa Western na Kenya mzima, mjifunze kukula mchele. So that wakati mahindi bei inapanda juu, tunakula mchele, hatutabeba sufuria kwa kichwa.
Where the nights are gay and the sun shines daily on the mountain top.
Sasa tumeambia tuongee.
Si mbaya, waendelee kuzungumza.
Nothing will come out of these cold talks.
Wakenya hawataogopa kuitisha haki yao.
Neno yao ni tatu. Number 1, wahame Kenya. Number 2, waende jela. Number 3, wasafiri waende mbinguni. Hakuna maneno mengine.
Tumepatia hao siku chache tu. Wakileta nyoko.
Former Prime Minister, what is the purpose of elections? Elections are won and lost.
Wacha Kimani Ichung'wah ongea na Kalonzo. Na hiyo kaa kando, Ruto kae kando, Raila kae kando.
Nothing will come out of those talks is a waste of time. I am telling you as Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya.
The first agenda should be actually to terminate the talks. Tunasema sasa tuachane na hii mazungumzo.
We reaffirm our commitment to complete this process within the set timelines.
You never know. You could end up with a reconstitution of the panel itself. You never know. Everything is on the table.
We have also resolved that we shall be extending invitations to stakeholders and members of the public to present their memorandums to the committee.
I support the 10-member committee. I'm most happy that this report will be brought to this parliament because I was afraid that there might be some handshakes in the corner of the streets.
There's nothing better, Mr. Speaker, than giving an ear to the person that holds a contrary view to whatever positions that you hold, Mr. Speaker.
Dialogue only comes, Mr. Speaker, when there is a problem, and those who also don't know, it is through those dialogues that we have a new constitution.
Somebody is defeated. I think they should accept defeat. And this shenanigans of high cost of living, IEBC, we've been seeing this every year in and year out. What solutions are leaders bringing as far as cost of living is concerned?
Tunapatia wale jamaa siku 30 kuongea. Baada ya siku 30 kama jamaa bado wamekaa ngumu, tutatoa amri nyingine.
All right, that is the soapbox, of course, just giving you an inkling of what really transpired during the week as well, that we want to analyze with our panelists already here. I introduced them at the top of the hour, and right now I want to buckle down on it as well. If you look at the dailies as well, it is relating to what has been hogging the splash throughout the week regarding that statement from the president. And oh heavens, why Ruto is on the spot, and this is all about Mumias and out of order. He says, oh, there is an abiding question there. Whereas the president has come out firmly to declare affairs war on corruption. He is walking a tightrope after his proclamation on how to slay the stubborn dragon appeared to border on extrajudicial methods, triggering furious protest from Kenyans. I want us to just begin from there. He has backed down. This is what the Daily Nation is holding today. How Tycoon lost vicious sugar battle, and besieged farms had challenged 20-year lease awarded to Uganda's Sarai Group. So let's begin with you, Professor Gitila Naituli. Is this backing down from duress, the sheer executive weight of, or the sheer weight of the executive, so to say, so that he had no choice but to back down?
I think all those things you said, yeah, I don't think he has a choice. You see, when the weight of the government falls on you, and in a manner that the president put it, and then you probably have to save your skin and calm down. Now, but the question, the bigger question is this: when you have to do that, basically outside the law, you're inviting anarchy. That is very dangerous. The thing is, granted, you see, the president had a lot of information which we don't have, which probably is not even in the papers today, about the goings on with the Mumia Sugar and the individuals involved. But the moment the president declares, orders you to withdraw, you see, you approach the court because you trust the legal process to deliver you, and because you believe that you are right, that's why you go to court. So we go to court when you have a conflict for determination. But when the president says, withdraw the case, or hammer, or leave Kenya, or go to jail, or safari to heaven, the president is declaring war on the rule of law. That's a little bit going too far. I think if I were to advise, the president would have called this fellow. Tell him, I know everything, all the corruption you people have been doing with the sugar. And of course, the oppression of the sugar farmers. I understand all that. And this is what I'm telling you to do. Go and remove that case quietly. Nobody knows about it. Very quietly. That wouldn't have been proper. But in doing this thing publicly and pronouncing it the way the president has done, that is how revolutions are created. Because in people's mind, there is a very thin line between the rule of law and anarchy. When you know now that, I mean, the president sought to defend the constitution and uphold the rule of law. And then when you know that sometimes you can depart from it and they order people to work without the law because you think you are okay, you have facts about an issue. So the moment that sinks in the population, it will lead to people sorting out their own differences the same way that the president is sorting out the corruption.
So you have been, let's just begin from where you were as the previous commissioner of
National Cohesion.
National Cohesion and Integration Commission. The three matatus, mambo ni matatu.
Yes.
Yeah. How would you, from your own estimation, describe them? Do they border to hate speech, especially when you say, oh yes, Mohammed Kenya?
Actually, when you look at that law, they actually do. Because what the definition of usually speech or even incitement is when somebody says something capable of being implemented. Not necessarily by even the person who is saying it, by somebody else. So all the things the president said are capable of being implemented by somebody. That's tricky. Because you see what you want to do in our polity in order to maintain cohesiveness is to insist that you basically the rule of law becomes your God. Okay, the rule of law. You stick to the rule of law. And everything is done according to the constitution and the written law. Once you depart from that, and you do that, you see, look, the president is he says a symbol of national unity. So it's irrelevant which direction he is taking his language, which is irrelevant because it's a symbol of national unity. Now, we have all these young Kenyans listening to that. These people, 18 years, 15 years, these children don't know hours in the school. They are listening to that. Look, sometimes I may not have to follow the law when I'm dealing with you. I can move away from the law and deal with you extrajudicially. Now, see, if that is sinks and it becomes the way we do things, and then no one is safe. Because only the law can guarantee our safety as citizens, nothing else. So it's tricky. I don't know. I think the people around the president, they are not necessarily his friend. Because if they're his friend, they won't tell him there are some things we will do privately. You see, if the president calls you in his office and they sit here and the only seat is your seat, and it tells you that I want this thing out of court because I need to fix this problem. By the time you leave that office, you will have signed the withdrawn document from court. I can assure you that.
Thank you.
But now, on top of a vehicle in public, that is scary. I wouldn't encourage that, and I think the people around the president, they are not necessarily his friends.
All right.
If they were, they would tell him, this one we could be going too far, even though he may be right.
Thank you. Let's hear from Professor Ogola, because he's talking that the president may be making this pronouncement and other agencies may implement. And of course, history will bear us down. If you walk down through the stream of time, that it was an intent maybe, or a pronouncement, or maybe even just out of turn talk that the president had said regarding some people, and they disappeared, right? Going back to JM Kariuki, if you find and you peel back the layers, you'll find, the president was saying, mtu ananisumbua sana. And some people came and said, you mambo tumemaliza, hautasumbuliwa tena, rais. Yes, let's just hear from you.
So, first of all,
what does it portend?
First of all, we have to understand Kenya Kwanza very well, because we have to understand the context. The president complained in the platform of being a victim, like he's a victim of circumstances. He talked about that with President Ruto very well. And he even said he's in threat, don't kill my children. It's a narrative that Kenya Kwanza has mastered. So Kenya Kwanza, William Ruto has mastered the victimhood narrative. Mumia Sugar is not working because there are people who are making it not work. KRA is not collecting taxes because of this and that. Baragoi because of this. And also the issue of threats, the president has issued so many threats and he has not even executed a single of them. He went to Baragoi just when he became president and said, try me, you'll see. Before he landed back to Nairobi, somebody had bombarded the same place. So the question is the president serious or he's just playing PR? Because I can tell you, my brother, there's a way a government works. How should the president should have approached this matter? When Kibaki was the president, you know, I'm an economist, so we used to have some conversations. How do you structure the Vision 2030? How do you structure how things to work? There's something called in governance called EMDA. E means executive order. The president could have done an executive order regarding the issue of sugar. You are a minister. Once the president has made an executive order, as a minister, you went to do a ministerial policy on how to execute the executive order from the president. Then there's a State Department where the PSS that were under you, Kirwa, now comes with an execution framework of your ministerial policy. Then there's an agency inside now, the State Department, for example, in the sugar industry, there could be an agency now, could be Mia Sugar, or it could be Kenya Sugar Board, now to look for how to execute the issues. That's how to go about the issues. But when you stand on top of the car, President William Ruto, out of all the days he's been in office, you can say 3/4 he has been on top of the car. He has been on top of the car during the campaign. During his deputy presidency, even Uhuru said, please, climb down from the top of the car, come we work. Now, I said, the president needs to transition from being in campaign to being in office, and that's when now he has the decorum of the office. And that's why even the human rights are saying, excuse me, this office is the office of the president. There must be some decorum. There must be a way you do things. How often has the president been to Arambe House? I'm sure in the president's seat in Arambe House must be gathering dust. Or maybe they are wiping it and there's no one using it. We need the president who sits down and does executive order. The issue about that is that there is continuity. If you just come out with roadside declaration, that was more his style, there is no continuity, it's not trackable. But executive order, ministerial policy, departmental framework, and then the agency execution framework works. And for me, if you ask me one question, if I want to ask a few questions, who gains from this backing down? He is backed down because of threat. Who gains? Remember, the cases he's withdrawn are not actually cases. They were applications. They were stay-on application, which was trying to stop the investor who was there before from operating. So this backing down is going to complicate Mumia Sugar much more than even solving it. I'm saying, people saying it's the beginning of a good day. No, there is no light at the end of the tunnel. These are cartels. And let me tell you what, even removing rye from it doesn't mean that they are removing cartels. What happens, another cartel will come in to take over. What is the whole way to deal with the entire cartel system? Just replacing cartel does not mean removing cartels. And of course, why the backing down is a threat. And then, does this backing down solve the sugar industry? No. Because now, look at this way. Look at the history again of Kenya Kwanza. The first cabinet that President William Ruto ever chaired made a decision about sugar. Actually, he was chairing the cabinet of Uhuru Kenyatta, and they declared they are going to privatize sugar. Then later they backed down by saying, no, we're just going to revitalize it. Then now they said they have been ordered closed until 1st of December. I was at Naitiri. I was there with Muhisa Kitui. And I can tell you, and without a doubt, you saw what to talk about the museum. We have lost leadership in Western Kenya. I think I'm urging Western Kenya leaders to come back, because the guys of Moses Wetangula, the guys from Salem Davadi, those are not leaders who care about it. If you look at guys like Masinde Muliro, look at how they spoke. Look at the guys like Kijana Wamalwa. Look at the leadership of You can mention the leaders who had Western Kenya at heart. They are not there. These are tumbocrats. I think that guys like Moisa Kitui needs now to come up and emerge up and start fighting for the people, because how are you allowing the president to make such speeches while all sugar factories are closed? In the year 1997 backwards, the sugar industry employed over 35,000 people in the Western Circuit. From 2000, the numbers have dropped to 10,552. It used to take care of around 2 million population that could feed from the sugar circuit. Now, that number is around 250,000. Is it going forward or less? So I'm sure the issues that affect the sugar industry, one is governance. And the governance issues is where, how can you remove all these cartels and come up with the issue of corruption and remove from these issues totally. The secondly is mismanagement. Forget about even blaming the president and the state. Mismanagement of the sugar belt is on the roof. Because look, Kenya crushes 14 tons of sugar cane to produce 1 ton of sugar. Brazil crushes 6 tons of sugar cane to produce 1 ton of sugar. And that's why sugar lands from Brazil at the port when it is Kenya shillings, 73 shillings per kg, while for us the factory gate it is 123 shillings. The question here is that why are we having these inefficiencies? Poor management, the whole system. One of the sugar company where I done strategy for, because I'm a strategy consultant, I can tell you, I saw one of the worst thing. I even talked to them until the board kicked me out of the consultation, because I told them this sugar factory will die. And I told them, not because the machines are crazy, there's incest in the company. What I mean by incest is that everybody has married everybody, whereby the head of marketing has married the daughter of operations, and the daughter of operations, the daughter has married the one for PR. So if you fire, if you're in HR, if you fire the head of marketing, you are firing your son-in-law, so your daughter will sleep hungry. So I told them this incest cannot work. This company will collapse. It did collapse. So the mismanagement of the sugar factories is the main issue. It is crazy, it's amazing. And I just have to tell the president that just do this procedurally, well thought of, and you'll actually get it right. But just threatening won't work, because you threaten everybody. No, I can tell you, Prof, if you have a son, you threaten them, I'll slap you. Then you don't slap them. I'll beat you, then you don't beat them. I will kill you, then they don't die. Then they know that my father is a threatening father. He doesn't act. And I think that the president needs to act. We need action, action, action. We don't need talking.
Right. On that note, I think we take a short break right now. It is 7 o'clock on the nose. Is it salvageable, this industry? Some people saying this is a dying horse. And of course, you need to dismount from the horse if it's actually dead. Is it having any life in it? Should we be putting it on vitals so that we can resuscitate that sugar industry, as it were? When we circle back, of course, we continue to anatomize this. We analyze it and find what is